You want to know what's happening around the parks, and we've got you covered. There's some kind of shocking looking demo at the Haunted Mansion queue. Something is developing maybe at Redwood Creek Challenge. Closures at Radiator Springs Racers and Incredicoaster, plus Tianas construction from the Magic Kingdom. But let's begin in Adventureland and head into the Adventureland treehouse. And by the way, you will note that, once again, just the wheel is working, not the buckets, which is the opposite of what I would have expected at this point in the tenure of the Adventureland treehouse. It was the wheel that we thought wouldn't work, and the buckets would, but it's now been a solid couple months now, I think, since the buckets have worked correctly. That having said that, let's get in the tree, and we're going to actually start looking at the Haunted Mansion because I wanted to see what I could see from the treehouse, and all we can get is the entrance area. These are the the columns of the mansion. And last week I had wondered if maybe they were redoing the flooring there, the red brick flooring, and it looks like, it's hard to see from here, but we'll get another shot later. But it does look like they have replaced that flooring there in front of the mansion. This is interesting right here. Check this out. Okay, so that's the courtyard where the fountain used to be, right about where that orange rig is there. I can't tell what kind of vehicle that is from this perspective. But as I was cruising around, that thing stood out. Look at that. That is just a big drill, and I'm certain that that drill is what they've been using back there in the rear queue. That's basically the primary element of this construction, is they're digging a giant hole in the queue back there in order to install that elevator for ADA access. And seeing that drill there is just, it's kind of shocking, as I mentioned. So we'll keep looking at the Haunted Mansion, get on a raft to Tom Sawyer's Lair. On the way, we'll note that the Mark Twain is still in wet dock. It is not operating on this day. It was supposed to be open on the day that I filmed this. We shot this footage on Saturday, the 24th. And the Mark Twain is still in dock. It's supposed to come out, well, it should be open by the time you see this, but it got delayed by another day once more. Hoping by next week we'll finally get a shot to ride the Mark Twain and see if it is any kind of view into the Haunted Mansion work site. I have low expectations, though. What's going on with Mark Twain now? That's really curious. Really, really curious. So let's head out into the Fantasmic Stage area to Lafitte's Tavern and see what we can see over the wall on this day. There's that big Malcolm drill up there. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's a crane. That was a Malcolm crane. There's the entrance again that I was trying to... I don't think I can see the ground or the flooring from here. You can just see the top of that red tape right there. Back at the courtyard. Nothing to see there, unfortunately. Nothing new anyway. And there's a good look at that crane. It's so impressive, the size of that thing and where it's at. So maybe they're done with the drilling part of this project, and they are now beginning to bring equipment and materials in and out of whatever space that they dug. So we'll head up the steps, go to the treehouse. The rear, where the drill is, that's the rear exterior queue. There's the brick wall that separates the rear queue from the forward queue where the pet cemetery is. That's the pet cemetery right there. It is just... Let's look next at those columns that we've been watching to see if they'll move. You know, the ones with the red arrows on there. They're still standing, but obviously we're seeing that they are taking down some of those brick walls. This one could be next. And there's another drill. I have to believe that it's no longer being used. They've detached it from the actual vehicle. That's just... I'm looking at this and I just can't... I was trying to look for something else while I shot this. But that is such an odd... Is that a pile of dirt? Because it looks like it's been excavated underneath a little bit. It's kind of a shocking image. Let's take a look now at the entrance to the mansion and see if we can't see that flooring down there now. Yeah, that has been dug up. That should be red brick. So they are replacing the walkway there into the building. There's a lot of things missing, like that right there, that concrete square. There should be something on top of that. So they have taken all of the, decorative items off the site for good reason, obviously. And look at that. The thing that we saw last week with the orange cone, I was wondering what that cone meant. It was over by the brick columns. It is now, that's the same one. There's no orange cone on it, safety cone, but they've moved it. Or maybe it's a second one, I'm not sure. But it wasn't, if we go back to the other footage, it's not there anymore at the entrance. You don't see that thing there at the entrance anymore. So it's got to be that they've moved it. I don't know if that means anything. It's just, interesting to note. It's wild to think, well, as we look at this, of all the things that used to be there that aren't anymore. Not that they won't return, but it's just wild. It is really wild. Okay, while we're on the island, we'll head over to the Crow's Nest and take a look at the Tianas Bayou Adventure Works site and see what we can find today. They've taken down that tarp covering, so they're done with whatever it is that they were doing there, although I'm not sure what it was that is uncovered now. It could just be that rig right there. Most likely that's where they were doing the hoisting, the lowering and raising, etc. But today it's clear, and you can it's our first good look. That's a look into the lift hill of the barn. And that guy's building something, I think, is that scaffolding? Is he building scaffolding? Looks to be the case, yes. So my guess is they're getting ready to do some work on the facade of that barn, the fascia and then here's a shot of the new scaffolding up around the Tianas Foods water tower. Folks were saying that they're going to be adding the vinery that grows on the tower itself. I don't see anything in that direction yet, but they're probably correct.
Shipmates, if you haven't done so, it is a good time to visit the cruise quarters below decks to see how sailors of the 1790s lived and worked while on the high seas. The lower decks will be closing when we enter port. Those of you remaining on deck, keep a close eye on the riverbanks, where you may be able to see moose, elk, and other wildlife.
Love Tom Sawyer Island. I love having the excuse of going to Tom Sawyer Island now with the Haunted Mansion and Tiana's Bayou Adventure construction. That makes me happy. I don't know if on this day I found no merchandise being sold at the exit, the Haunted Mansion exit. I don't know if that's just an occurrence on this day or if we're now starting to see some progress of that situation, becoming the gift shop. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's go ahead and take another look at Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We're focusing now on the barn, the Lift Hill barn. As we noted last week, they're returning the water wheel, and the water wheel is now back. There it is. I think they still have some more decorative elements to add to it, but they've moved quickly on this. It's gone from steel to wood in just a couple weeks. But they're going to finish those wood, the planks there as well. And yeah, here we can see that same construction worker finishing up installing the scaffolding in front of that barn. So I would expect to see cleaning up of the roof. I'm not sure if they're going to pressure wash that or not, but they'll clean that up and then start working on the trim and fascia around the barn. And here's a couple of leads. You can always tell the leads from the others. They're just observing. But they've been watching that same section the whole time I was there. They were looking down at that same section for quite a while. So there's something very interesting happening down there in that direction in their line of sight. Just going to keep watching this section here to see how that develops. Very curious little area that I have grown to want to observe. We have not been able to observe anything at the entrance, as it is now completely covered in scrim and scaffold. Same for the rear of the mountain, hill, salt mine. Slip and Falls looks exactly like we left it last week. There's still the plastic covering. There's still the little wood slats up there, but no visible work being done. Couldn't tell if they have done anything here or not. Don't know the direction it's happening. I did want to note that there is new development here. This is where we pointed the camera here last week because I figured we needed a baseline. And sure enough, the next week we have plastic coverings over. This is where, you know, the old, where you used to get your photos, your ride photos. That's the building right there. It's part of that roof line there has been covered in plastic, as has whatever it is that was up there behind it in the rear of the frame. And by the way, we did look at Tianas Bayou Adventure from the treehouse as well, but first, we also took a quick peek at what's happening at the Stage Door Cafe. That's all covered in scrim now, so we can't really see anything from the ground, but we can see, you know, where they're painting there in the back. Not a lot to see from here, but that's pretty much all we're getting right now at this point is paint and polish at Stage Door Cafe. Still in progress. All right, here is Tianas Bayou Adventure. On this day, there was not a lot of crew. This is a Saturday, so minimal crew on this work site. So we didn't get to see anybody working on the top part of the mountain, just on the ground. Or near to the ground, I should say.
We'll bring success to the skippers now. Forget the silver deep. All the windows on it. And working free. There's not another whaler that she'll have done me. And the old Palinga, she leads the trial run. And she challenges all both great and small, from Dundee to St. John. And she challenges all both great and small, from Dundee to St. John.
Lovely segue from the Bootstrappers, just so that I can show you this. The scrim has been lifted a little bit to reveal nothing. This is the section we saw scrim and scaffold last week above the the club balcony there. But one of the doors, what the scrim is covering, can't tell, but one of the doors is open. This is where they do the projection, the lighting projections for Fantasmic. And that door is open, so they're obviously working on the lighting elements for Fantasmic, which is coming back soon. May 24th on the schedule as of now. By the way, that date just became available yesterday as I record this. So if you are trying to see opening day of Fantasmic, you might want to look at the calendar now. Might want to look at the calendar now and get that day booked. All right, let's go to Fantasyland. Just a quick update. I don't know if you guys are watching our State of Disneyland reports, but we talk about this weekly. Casey Jr. is still running at one train. It's been running one train now for, I want to say, 1 or 2 months, which is important if you're a fan of Casey Jr. It changes dramatically how easy it is to do that attraction. It cuts your time in half. You run 2 trains, your wait time is cut in half. So just keep that in mind. Right now they have been running and still are running just one train at Casey Jr. I don't know what those construction walls are for. My best guess is that they're repainting that light fixture. This speaks for itself at Toontown. So we'll go to Tomorrowland next to check in on the Astro Orbiter. And several more elements have returned. Here's how it looked last week. And here's how it looks this week. It's incredible how many small little moving parts and elements there are to this ride mechanism. It's kind of intricate and interesting, although I still don't like the color scheme. I mean, just really how it looks. I would much rather have had they return this to some sort of retro look, but wishful thinking, I suppose. The satellite, the front satellite is still behind scrim and scaffold, so they're still repainting that one. And actually, they have covered it. The top is now being covered in a plastic wrap as well. We'll head back out to Town Square to show you City Hall. Can't really show you much, actually, because it is still behind scrim and scaffold, so we don't even know what the progress is at the moment. We did mention last week that the fire department looked to be complete. The brickwork looked to be complete. So we should be getting close on that. Work continues also at the Lost and Found and the restrooms outside the main gate, out in the Esplanade. But so far, I do not see where they are doing anything with the trim or the roof, although it does look like it needs repair. Haven't seen any yet. And there goes the monorail. That's our cue, Fresh Baked. That's our cue to jump on the monorail and take a trip to downtown Disney. By the way, there's the scrim and scaffold still up at Grizzly Peak for the restrooms and Humphreys. And here's our look at the downtown Disney worksite. No news there. A little bit of progress has been made on those footings. But otherwise, I would say that we're still a few weeks away from seeing any further vertical progress on that site. Downtown Disney Stein is still up at the Downtown Disney parking lot entrance. But we do have concrete. Last week it was just rebar. But there's the new concrete being poured there. Otherwise, I couldn't see anything. They have fresh baked that scrim this week. They've been watching, I guess. Din Tai Fung. Of course they are. Din Tai Fung moving along. I mean, I don't know what else to say on this. The things are progressing here. More work is happening on the top of that structure as well. More design elements being put in place. There's some guys working on the sheathing right there. Well, near the sheathing anyway, but I don't think that's what they were doing. But yeah, we have active construction happening right there. Not a lot of movement on the opposite side for the retail structure that's going to be adjacent to the Parkside Market, nor is there's no visible progress here for Earl's, and it's going to be quite a while before we see anything, but I'm going to keep putting my camera in there just in case. That is Centrico. Actively working on that, construction crews are. This has been moving fast, although most of the progress that's happening at Centrico is happening below the walls, because that's pretty much how Centrico is going to look. The top part of that structure is basically how it's going to wind up being in the final view. And then now they've covered up that window at Paseo upstairs. Now this is interesting. As I walked by, I noticed there's new elements there on the staircase. Well, I've never been in the building, that circular structure. I never went in there because I didn't really ever go to Catal. I went to Catal one time in my life. And when we went upstairs, we went up the stairs on the opposite side of the, where the old entrance was for Catal. I don't remember if there was a staircase there before, but there is one now. At least there is a winding circular staircase heading up to the second floor. One thing I can say for sure is those wooden elements are new, and you can see the guy walking up the stairs as we speak. Those elements in the window right there, those were not there last week. I hadn't seen anything in that building for weeks, months, a year. So I'm not sure if that staircase was there or not. I'm sure you guys can tell me. Now, forgive me, but I'd like to take a quick break from this construction update to let you guys know about Getaway Today. You may already know that they are our preferred vacation planner, travel agent for our fans who are looking to book a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or more. Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, you name it. And I'd like to think that we know them very well. We've met many of them personally, and we know how kind they are and how really tremendously good they are at their jobs. And that's why I'm confident in referring our fans to Getaway, because I am confident that you will be treated just as well as we have. If you're planning a trip to a Disney park or Universal or anything else of that nature, if you're planning a trip soon, use the link in our description so that they know that we sent you, and so that we know that you were sent to them through one of our YouTube videos. And in so doing, you can be confident that you're going to be getting some of the best possible service from people who know everything there is to know about planning a trip to the Disney parks. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the show. Let's go to DCA. No progress at all on the Blue Sky Cellar. Grizzly River Run, obviously still closed, still working on that. That's going to be down for a while. Redwood Creek Challenge. Now, this is interesting because it's popped up on the refurb calendar. It's going to close, Redwood Creek will, on March 4th. It's going to be closed for, what, at least 5 weeks? The calendar goes up to, as I record this, April 7th, and it's still closed on April 7th. So between March 4th and April 7th, that's more than a month. That's a long time for Redwood Creek Challenge to be closed, especially considering it's off-season. It's the beginning of the spring season, and that's the thing you want open at that time, I would assume. I mean, you don't want any attraction closed, but that's a particularly interesting time, in my opinion. I don't know what this means, in terms of what they're doing back there. I haven't heard any rumors. I know that there were suggestions that Redwood Creek could be a possible destination for Avatar, but it's way too early in the game for them to be doing anything here. That's going to be a big deal. When that happens, you'll know when Avatar is coming, if it is going. I don't think it's going to be going to DCA anyway, but if it were, and if they were putting it here at Grizzly Peak or at Redwood Creek Challenge, we'd be hearing about it. So this is not that. I don't know what it is, but it's not Avatar. Not to mention that I feel like if they do anything with this area for Avatar, it's going to include the Little Mermaid building as well, and there's obviously nothing happening there. So why it's closed for a month or more, hard to say, but we'll keep our eyes and ears open for news on that. Meanwhile, Radiator Springs Racers is closing. Actually, it will be closed by the time you see this. It closes on February 26th. A less than scrupulous website out there said it's closed indefinitely, which sounds terrible. It sounds scary. But that's only because when they reported that, the calendar hadn't updated yet. It's only going to be closed for what looks to be 4 days, 5 days. It'll reopen on March 2nd. Radiator Springs Racers will reopen on March 2nd. Incredicoaster is also closing soon. Incredicoaster closes on March 4th as well, same time as Redwood Creek. That'll be closed for just under 2 weeks. It'll reopen on March 15th. Standard refurb here. And that's the Disneyland Resort. Let's hop on a plane and head to the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. Actually, no, we're going to start at Epcot and get on the monorail to take a look at Communicore Plaza. Things on the ground look to be about as we saw them last week. They've put up those blue tents since last week, but that just suggests that they're about ready to get to do some heavy stuff on the ground. But you can see that the scaffolding has been removed from that section that connects those two buildings, or that appears to connect those two buildings. There's no scaffolding back here. You can see right through that building where we couldn't see before. Does that mean it's done? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it means, but I don't think they're done, not by a stretch, because you can see that there's still plenty of updating to be done on the facade of that part of the building. Let's get on the ground. Yeah, the yellow trim there, that needs some progress. It's like that in many places around the Communicore Plaza site. And they're still adding the Spaceship Earth themed elements to the facades there. Love it. Looks great. One being installed right now. This is going to look great. This is going to look great. This footage, as always, brought to us by Sean Liston. Thank you very much, Sean, for your dedication in bringing this footage to us. You can find Sean at Adventureland_Dad. Here we can see the forms that had been put up last week have been upgraded to a concrete wall now. A circular concrete wall has been formed. Let's do our weekly drive-by by the Polynesian. Check in on the inmates at the new DVC tower. Actually, they haven't moved them in yet, have they? Well, there goes a ferry. Why does this remind me so much of the DVC tower here at Disneyland, at the Disneyland Hotel? Backside of the Polynesian on the monorail. This at least has a little more color to it than the front side does. They've painted it and everything. All right, Magic Kingdom, Tianas Bayou Adventure. We've got, I'm not positive if that's a Magic. He's wearing the, no, the white helmets are typically actual construction workers. So we've got a guy up there doing some analysis, some observation about the drop there for Tianas Bayou Adventure. Fascinating to observe. He's talking to somebody, but we can't see him. He's out of frame. There's a current look at the drop landing area where they have been testing boats and testing water. As a matter of fact, we also have this footage from a friend of the show, Christina Alspa. She caught them filming this, just a roaring river of water flowing through there. Glad to see that. That just must be so cool. I would love to be a fly on the wall right now inside that structure, inside the attraction building. Scaffolding still remains on the rear side of the mountain. Still working on adding all the foliage and vegetation. Still in the dirt phase, it looks like, down here by the queue for underneath the train loading area. But that looks like they're getting ready to do something here, for sure. Situation normal at the attraction entrance. And actually, it's starting to look almost a little aged, which I suppose is the idea. It should. Oh, here we got a peek through the queue. This is ground level. This is through a scrim, and that's the exterior queue. Love that tree. That tree looks great. That tree looks great. I love it. Very swampy. Another one back there, another tree, swampy looking tree. So you can see here at the water tower that there are some vines growing on the water tower. So that's what we're expecting to see them install soon, I guess. If they've got the scaffolding up around our water tower, we might start getting to see our first signs of vegetation on the mountain. That could be the first thing that they do, is putting those vines on our water tower. Cool, right? Another look from above. This is the train depot at the exterior queue for Tianas. Lovely little spot. I wish they had more tree coverage there. You need more shade trees there. I feel like that's still going to be hot as heck and very exposed. This from the train itself. I would want a fuller tree like they have at Haunted Mansion here. And there you go, guys. That is our update from the Disneyland Resort and from Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World, Epcot, etc. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more, as always. If you like this show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Or you can follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. And until next time, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.